Jason Wilcox, Director of Football, obviously, aligned with Omar Barada. They've worked together before, so I think they're on a similar kind of page. As I've said before on the podcast, though, Wilcox did express some reservations, should we say, about the system initially when they were looking at replacing Eric Ten Hag around the FA Cup final, but it feels like to me, he's got a pretty strong relationship with Ruben Amorim.
Hello and welcome to Stretford, Paddock. This is Inside United with Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic and Talk of the Devils podcast as well. We're also joined by Jay Motty, of course. My name is Joe. Laurie, it's great to have you back on.
Look how happy Jay is.
How are you?
I'm so happy to see you, Rob. I've missed you.
How are you?
I've missed you guys. Yeah, I'm fantastic. You okay?
I'm great.
Good?
I mean, United won their last game.
So
yeah.
we're on a run. We're on a winning run of one.
Fantastic.
Yeah. 6 points off top, right?
6 points off the top, 6 points off the relegation zone.
Okay, yeah.
As well. We've got loads to get through today. I want to talk about Amorim, his safety at Manchester United, how secure he is in his job. Obviously, you did a piece, you wrote about that before the Sunderland game. I want to get this sort of up to date. Where is he? Also, this sort of new training facility, the sort of pros and cons have been some talk about potentially not having the right space for everyone there and just, what's going on with that. Also, a little look at this sort of wider management, this continual rejig and reshuffle of, Jim Ratcliffe's cabinet at Manchester United. There's just endless people coming in and out. Now with, is it the Academy head of recruitment?
Luke Fedorenko, yeah.
Luke Fedorenko has left, and obviously the hole that leaves and how that's all going to work. Loads to get into, but first of all, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
I'm
happy to be back.
Yeah.
Manchester's feeling glorious. We're in Northern Quarter.
Yeah.
Life is good.
It's good, isn't it? In this crisp autumn air.
I feel like autumn's your season, Joe.
I'm a spring guy.
Are you?
I like spring.
Do you have a spring in your step, do you?
My favourite day of the year is when the clocks go forward.
Right.
Because you've still got, it's getting lighter every day.
Okay.
And you just had an extra hour.
Right.
And the buds are coming back on the trees.
The buds are coming back on the trees.
So I don't love autumn, but I don't mind it.
You're not a fan of acorns?
I don't mind an acorn.
Conker?
But I feel like the dropping of the fruit is metaphorical both in terms of life and in terms of the year.
Sure.
Jay, how are you?
I'm all right. Yeah. I'm good.
Good. Let's start with let's start with this stuff from today's article then. And you wrote a piece. Obviously, you can go into more detail than me, but just as a rough outline, that there seems to be some, let's say, maybe issues with United's new training facility, issues around space, where people are training, certain things not being sort of tended to properly. Give us a bit more of a kind of overview and then we'll dig into the details.
Yeah, so obviously United, Sir Jim Ratcliffe put his own money into building this £50 million main building that's totally refurbed. They've done a really good job with it. It's a fantastic space, certainly for journalists. Like we're in there now. We used to be in the Jimmy Murphy building, and so we see the kind of foyer and the press conference room, and they've done a really good job with it. And from what I hear from people that have had proper looks around it, impressive facility now. The only issue that has arisen from it, though, is that the 18s and 21s team, who obviously supply that they're hoping to get into the first team at some stage, and United have got a long tradition of academy products making that step. Their space that was in the old main building is no longer there. So it was a conscious decision by the club, by the people that are designing the training ground, to move them out of that building, which we can perhaps debate. I mean, so every club does it differently, right? Like some clubs, even Liverpool, had the academy and the first team on different sites for like 5 miles apart until recently. They've now brought them together, but it's not just a prerequisite that your academy has to be in the same kind of space as the first team. But previously they had dressing room in the ground floor, office space for the staff on the upper level, and medical sort of treatment room sort of along the corridor from the first team treatment room. So you had like quite a lot of spaces, canteen, where the academy players in that 18-21 bracket would perhaps have natural chance to mingle with the first team, conversations, whatever, same with staff. They've taken the decision to move them out of that, which is, again, you can say that's fine. The only issue at the moment with it is that there isn't space there for the 18s and 21s in the academy building. So the academy building's been around since Carrington was opened in sort of 2000, 2002.
As you come in, isn't it?
Yeah, so you go in, obviously the first team is on the right, and the Jimmy Murphy building's behind that, which is obviously a nod to the academy, but that's sort of conference spaces. It used to be where the press conferences were. It's not you can't get changed in there. And then the academy building's to the left, and they've obviously got the women's building as well, which does have some academy facilities in it, that was opened about 3 years ago, attached to it. So the first team relocated to that whilst the building work was going on in their building. The academy sort of got squeezed together a bit more. So that was the issue last season for the 18-21s. They were kind of having to hop between different dressing rooms that weren't really equipped for them. Okay, it's a dressing room, you can obviously get changed in it, but it's really made for kind of, up to 16, so you're even having 12-year-old, 14-year-old dressing rooms for these guys that were obviously just bigger. And so the women were then moved into the temporary facility that they erected in the sort of car park right by the side of the pitches. So they were in that, and it's temporary cabins, right? It's kind of pretty well constructed, but it's a temporary facility. So it's not supposed to last for too long a time. The women have now moved from that into their original building that's made for them, and now the decision has been made to put the 18s and 21s in that temporary facility. So from a point of which they were actually sort of, it had a pretty good location in the main building, they're now in these temporary cabins, which again, you just maybe have to accept that that's part of the course when you're trying to renovate, revamp, but it means that they are probably not in optimal sort of conditions really for what you'd hope and what you'd want. Now, the club are saying that they are planning for a new academy facility, which is great news, fantastic. It's definitely in need of some work, which you touched on there, Joe. There's some issues around sort of signs being faded, maintenance not happening, I think, to be honest, as a result of these redundancies that have gone on. So gaps are falling through. And that's fantastic that they're going to now build a new building. But I would say it would cost, quite a few million to construct, and, could be many months, possibly. I don't know how long these things take. Obviously, the main building took a whole year, didn't it? And they were pretty on it with getting that sorted. So you're thinking maybe a year, maybe two, I don't know. But plans are pretty thin on the ground at the moment because they've been holding off on doing anything on this until Steve Torpey, the new academy director, came in, with Nick Cox, obviously, on, I suppose, a notice period before joining Everton as technical director. So now that he's in the building, the idea is that this will accelerate. But at the moment, there isn't a kind of a clear idea as to what this is going to look like. So that's why I think it was a fair piece to report on, to kind of say this is the current situation and let's see where it goes from here.
I think you described it as being in a bit of a state of flux, was it?
Flux, is it? Yeah,
is it? A good term. From sort of the outside looking in, I get there's a bigger picture here and long term we're hoping this, but it does seem a little bit of a mess with temporary, accommodation or buildings for certain people. You talk about maintenance not getting done because of cuts, there's litter not getting cleaned.
Toilets uncleaned, allegedly.
It's not a good look, is it? So for INEOS.
That's in the academy building, by the way.
The academy building, sorry. Yeah. It's just it is a little bit concerning to see these things and think, what is the plan here? How long has this got to go on for? It just all seems a little bit worrying. Sort of around the club, are they confident this is all going to be okay? Because as a fan, I'm reading this and going, this isn't a good look at all. Yeah,
well, I suppose it now depends what does happen. If that continues to be the case for the foreseeable, then I think you can probably question, say, it wasn't really the smartest, or it should have been done at the same time as the main building. Now they will say, I think fairly, that to have two building sites at the same time, it's impossible, right? But could there have been some kind of scope to make sure that, okay, right, once we've done that, bang, we go straight into this second building as well? Financing is going to be interesting because obviously 50 million is not small change, is it? And that's Ratcliffe's own money that he's put into the club there. So how are they going to fund this thing that's going to be, it could be many millions, right? I know that they've posted record revenue recently, but at the same time they still lost money over the course of the year, so that's still an ongoing issue, the kind of financing of the club. So I agree. It's sort of, it makes me, you can read it two ways, and I've certainly had people sort of respond to my article today to say it's too negative, and the headline should be the new building, right? This is great, fantastic news, and I totally endorse that. But I think what I would report on is what's actually happening right now, and until you've got that kind of clear idea for what's going to happen, and it's absolutely certain, and you can sort of tell people this is what it's going to look like and how much it's going to cost and when it's going to be done by, I would still say the main takeaway at the moment is that it's not quite optimal conditions for the 18s and 21s.
I agree with you. I think it's not, like you said, if we were in a state of like, this is the date, we're going to start work on the 1st of January or this, whatever it may be, international break or whatever, and they're going to move here, here's the plan, and then it would be a bit different. But as it stands, it's this sort of, we're going to fix it, don't worry.
Yeah.
But right now, what was it, the under-13s were borrowing Everton kits.
Well, that's a sort of separate issue really, but yeah, so that's, I would say, listen, they put that down to forgetfulness. So yeah, what happened was Everton were visiting under-13s at Carrington, and United realised that they didn't have enough kit for their team, so socks and shorts, I believe, were borrowed from Everton, and they had to wear them for this game. So that's crazy to me, right? That would happen.
I played for Langold Juniors from under-10s to under-18s, and we never had to do that. And we were a very small, very bad team with no money. And
you were
never a small
you had your own kit.
Joe. Surely you were a towering presence.
We were relatively tall, but not in terms
Where
of
did you play?
One of those that slowly worked his way back.
Okay.
So started off up front, absolutely knocking him in at under-10s. Left wing, left back, too tall.
You left foot?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So got a wand of a left foot, Joseph.
Absolute pond of a left foot.
That is interesting though that you say that never happened, because I was wondering, like, can you just mark this down to a one-off?
But it's you would think there'd be a spare stash of kit somewhere.
If you're like looking at where your kid's going to play football, you would aspire, hopefully, if you're in the Greater Manchester area, for them to play for United, for them to go there. Say you've got a 10, 11, 12-year-old, you think, go to United, they're smashing it, that's like the pinnacle. So when you read stories like that, you think, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because you would have a bit of concern. Well, actually, do they know, is it as good as it's made out to be? Especially when down the road you've got City pulling out all the stops, and obviously, I mean, have had quite a lot of success with their academy, and obviously invested loads of money into all levels of their younger teams. So it just adds to this air of United being a bit of a, I don't want to be too harsh, but being a bit of a mess at the minute.
I think it's a consequence, isn't it, of people losing their jobs. So the staffing has been reduced dramatically, and I think, again, we can all, I think, fairly say that there was probably some bloating at the club, and I think I can understand totally that Ratcliffe and the INEOS regime wanted to streamline a bit, but there is then real life issues that come from that, because I think it was, what I'm told is a case of forgetfulness rather than any kind of ordering issue, but nevertheless it still happened, and it's embarrassing, right? And it it's off the back of the women's team having to buy boots over for their trip to SK Brann, which I don't know if that ever got properly explained, but boots got lost in transit, for example. So it's I'm not trying to like drill down into every little minutiae that happens at Manchester United to sort of try and say it's all bad, but I think we're just sort of seeing these little instances of issues creeping in because you're perhaps having a bit of a strain of number of staff in. And I think actually they've advertised for a new kit member for the first team and for the under-21s in recent weeks, so that's kind of interesting that maybe they appreciate that there's a need to address that.
Feels like the opposite of marginal gains, doesn't it? Feels like little things that are avoidable. Do you know what I mean?
That's a very good point.
Yeah, like on its own, it's probably not.
We're all
that
thinking
deep.
there, what's the opposite to marginal gains that rhymes?
Like on its own, it's probably not that deep, is it? You think, okay, well, a bit of a mistake, bit of an error.
Yeah.
But when it's like one thing and another thing and another thing, you think, well, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Especially when you get to the very highest level, the first team's still having ups and downs, shall we say?
Yeah, it's just like you said, everything looks worse because of the light being shone on it from the first team.
Yeah,
the whole club, everything that's a problem looks worse because we're not winning enough games. Just in terms of sort of the leadership areas, obviously we've got Stephen Torpey in as the new academy director, and we spoke a little bit or mentioned before the loss. The Luke Fedorenko has left Manchester United, who was the head of academy recruitment. I know they're not necessarily the same role, obviously, but it's just more change at every level at Manchester United. So tell me a little bit about Stephen Torpey and a little bit about Luke Fedorenko leaving as well. Yeah,
I mean, I think you're going to get this, to be honest, still continuing, because INEOS came in with a very strong desire for change, and they have a very clear way of going about that. And again, we can discuss that to the end of the day, can't we? But so Jason Wilcox, as director of football, is now, his background really, his main sort of working career to this point was at Man City, at the academy, and that's where he worked with Stephen Torpey, who's progressed from the coaching from all the age groups, I think, at City. And so you can see that they obviously know each other, right? And then if you've got Nick Cox, who's chosen to leave to go to Everton, which is a really good job, I think, as technical director in the senior setup, they're obviously going to be acquiring somebody for that role. It's kind of, I don't know. I suppose it's fine, right? If people are going to hire people that they know to a degree, I just quite like to make sure that that's the best possible candidate. And obviously Stephen Torpey's now got the chance to prove that, hasn't he? As we go into this, and so then I think you've got people that perhaps look at that picture and think, okay, maybe there's other opportunities for me. So I think Luke Fedorenko is going to work for a major football agency, as far as I'm aware. Andy Mitten broke the story, and that's what he's put in there. So, so I think they're gonna now need a new academy recruitment head, basically. So it'll be interesting to see where that person comes from. And I mean, it's just change, right, isn't it? So let's see. Like, I think that the people that are coming in think that it can be done better. I think there's probably people that have worked at United to this point and think it's been okay, really. Like, you look at the sales that happened in this summer window, Alejandro Garnacho, plus the sell-ons for Alvaro Carreras, Anthony Elanga, Maxi Oyedele, is actually basically engineering United's transfer spend to a degree. So, and also at the same time, you've got Kobe Mainoo in the first team. Okay, I know he's not Ruben Amorim's cup of tea by the looks of things, but you've still got a pipeline from the academy to the first team, which I think United should absolutely continue. We know about this stat in terms of 1937 and having an academy graduate in the squad dating all the way back there. The City approach is different. Their approach was more, let's get the best young players, and if they don't make the first team, that's fine, we'll sell them, and they've sold really well at that level. They're not necessarily so tapped into getting players into the first team, although to be fair, they've got Rico Lewis in there at the moment, Nico O'Reilly, obviously Phil Foden, so maybe there is a fair point to make on that. But I think it is still it'll be a different approach. I think there'll be maybe much more attention to the ability to kind of get players and then make sure that you get good money for them if they're not going to make it into the first team than perhaps there was previously. It's just, so I think within all that, that's why you're going to maybe still get people leaving the club, new appointments being made. I still think it's a period of change going on.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think you've got to wait and see with a lot of this, haven't we? We know that obviously there's been a lot of success with the academy and the under-21s, and like you mentioned there, it's so important to United. And as a fan, we speak about this. We speak about it on a podcast the other day, weren't we, about that record of since 1937 having that academy graduate in the first team squad. It does feel something special, and it's something that you've got to hold on to. And it's always a bit scary when you see there's a lot of changes going on. But for me, as a fan, I just start thinking, we'll wait and see what happens. Wait and see, if there is any progress, if this does sort of bear fruit. Because I am a little bit sort of concerned that there isn't, and we've spoken about this a lot, haven't we? There isn't a first team starter from the academy now. There isn't that. You've always had 2 or 3, haven't you, that are in the first team. You haven't got that anymore. So I don't know whether that's something that Ruben Amorim is looking at and going, okay, we've got good young players, but they're not good enough.
I think that might be his view, to be honest. I mean, he obviously was asked about this in a press conference and said, I don't want to be the guy that breaks it. I want to maintain it is a thing to cherish. Obviously, it shouldn't just be for sentiment. It shouldn't just be a token gesture. But so I think we're kind of getting at that point where you're sort of wondering.
Yeah, no, because there was I think. I remember at the Etihad last season, I think Mainoo was the only one in the squad, wasn't he? Yeah. So there's been a sort of, I know it sounds melodramatic.
It came close under Fergie. I don't think Fergie ever realised that this run was even ongoing, obviously. So, even the guy that you'd say has absolutely done his best for youth development at United, even in his stage of his career, it kind of was a little bit uncertain. So, but I think now it's out in the open and it is such a part of United's history and DNA anyway. I think that you need to have a strong academy that feeds into the first team, and I suppose that's why that separation then from them being in the main building to a different temporary facility is an interesting point. There's one point perhaps to make on that is that they do have a couple of dressing rooms, probably about 5 seats in each, where if you are an academy player that's training with the first team that day, you can use them, or perhaps a first team player that's not that's in the squad. So maybe like a Diego Leon, who's kind of more in the first team than not. He uses that dressing room rather than the main dressing room.
Are they going to get to use the paddle court when that's built? And can they use the barbers and all that now?
The barbers, I would imagine, surely that's like anyone can use that, can't they? They need customers in that barbers. But the paddle court, yeah. Well, I mean, the temporary facilities, that was one area where the paddle court was supposed to be going.
Right.
So if that's staying, then we'll have to find somewhere else.
Paddle court.
Do you play paddle?
No, I haven't done it.
Great.
Have you?
No.
You two stink of paddle. I can't believe.
I know I do stink of paddle.
You do,
but
I'm amazed that neither of you.
It's a whiff that hasn't passed my nostrils just yet.
I'm surprised at that. Especially you.
No, it just feels like tennis for people who aren't very good at tennis.
Okay,
it's like cop-out tennis, isn't it?
Everyone's into it though.
Yeah, but I feel like
I played tennis recently, but yeah, apparently paddle's a lot slower, right?
Yeah, so anyone can play it. The court's smaller. The ball's got holes in it, so it don't move through the air very quick. Just play badminton; it's way better.
We used to do that, didn't we?
Yeah, badminton's great.
You with the shuttlecock?
Big time.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Let's talk about Ruben Amorim. His future. So you tweeted to some stir.
Oh yeah,
strangely enough.
Been putting a cat amongst the pigeons, haven't you, Mr. Whitwell?
Just to clarify, this wasn't even my tweet, by the way.
Don't try and pass the buck.
Well, it was said on Talk of the Devils.
Okay,
and then it's aggregators of.
Let me rephrase that. Your quote was tweeted.
This is true.
To some stir.
This is true.
I'll read the quote that was quoted. I spoke with several knowledgeable people and was told that even if Manchester United lose to Sunderland, obviously this was said pre-Sunderland, I don't think the club will sack Ruben Amorim. Ratcliffe wants to give Amorim a full season before judging him. Obviously, beating Sunderland presumably doesn't move the needle any closer to him getting sacked. You wouldn't have thought.
I'm so grateful for that. Don't test this.
Wow.
So talk to me about that, because obviously, I know you've been doing this podcast for a long time, but as you know, when you're someone like you, where simultaneously the exact wording of what you say and write is scrutinised endlessly, and also there is a difference in terms of freedom of words when you're writing an article and when you're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not close to sort of mixing your words there. It's clear what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
But do you ever get that feeling of like, oh my God, if I was writing it, I wouldn't have worded it like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that one of those moments, or is that something you sort of,
I would perhaps frame it slightly differently, but I'd endorse that.
Yeah.
I think in the end, because I was with Critch at the game for Sunderland, and he was doing the briefing. He was like, "What did you say about the sacking thing?" Because he was like doing the. I was like, "I think I said it won't be terminal for him," and we ended up being like, that was quite a safe phrase for it, like as in. But is that a cop out? Maybe, I don't know. I still would, from what I was being told, I don't think he would have been sacked if they'd lost. Now, I appreciate that was, I didn't realise that would cause, such a strong reaction from some people. Rage bait was one of the accusations, which I was...
Rage bait by saying the manager won't get sacked is quite an interesting position.
Well, it shows where we're at, right, doesn't it?
That's what
people's
I mean.
Enjoyment or not of the football team. So, I can understand people's emotions around it. But, I was just trying to report what I was told and what I believe to be the case. Because you've got to discern, haven't you, what you're being told, what's the truth, what you're feeling. But you're absolutely right, Joe. Speaking on something like this, and obviously Talk of the Devils, and then writing it, you've got time to write exactly what you want to say in a written article. Whereas sometimes on a podcast you might not exactly express what you're trying to say. So it's difficult when you've got aggregators. Then fair play to them, they quote it direct. If they quote it accurately, I've got no problem. But it's just then you see it written down, then it goes viral or whatever. It's a bit of a difficult thing to comprehend.
I think you've been a bit harsh on yourself earlier. I think that's perfectly fine the way you've put it. Like,
you've got to be nice to me there. Come on, attack me. Tell me I'm wrong.
Tell me we both know I don't need to be nice to you. Okay. I spoke with several knowledgeable people. Like you say, you've spoken to people, and also
like you.
Yeah, I'm telling you now. No matter what, my man's safe. Like, don't watch that. Like you've said, like, and then it's like I don't think we'll sack Ruben Amorim. Ratcliffe wants to give Amorim a full season.
There you go. So wants is quite a key word there.
So I think there's room to, like, obviously that can change.
Yep.
If we beat Sunderland, well, we did beat Sunderland, but then lose the next 10 games, he's obviously going to get sacked during that run, innit? We get all that. So I don't think it's anything like that outrageous to say what you're saying. The way you've worded it, you've sort of qualified it as well. I think we're in this position now where even if you say something remotely positive or anything that's sort of seen like, that this is okay, what's happening with United, people are getting a bit angry with it. And I understand that to a certain degree because it is a weird position we find ourselves in where every game feels like must win.
Yeah.
Like, even though you're saying that one wasn't, it's like we're almost at a must win stage, aren't we? And we're in the beginning of October. Yeah. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, it is. I mean, also, by the way, for everyone, make sure you check out the link in the description to Talk of the Devils podcast. Go down and check them out. Subscribe.
That's too kind.
Over there. Obviously, so let's move sort of past this kind of pre-Sunderland assessment of things. Like I said before, winning that game almost certainly makes him even less likely to be sacked in the sort of imminent future. But he's not a manager, as you said, people accusing you of rage baiting by saying that he might stay. Sort of tells us where we're at with him, or where certain people are at with Ruben Amorim. This want to give him the full season from Ratcliffe, as far as you're aware, is that a want that is shared by everyone? And obviously, I know no one is keen to sack the manager, but is there some people who are more keen to get this done and get rid of him, and certain people who are more keen to see him stay long term, or is it a united vision?
I would say it's a pretty united vision, because you've got Chief Executive Omar Barada, who definitely advocated for Amorim to come in. Yeah. So I think he wants to make it work. So he's trying to give him the time, the scope to see his methods come through and work. Obviously, the transfer window happened, so that was his first real, period where he could perhaps alter the exact players that he had at his disposal. Jason Wilcox, director of football, obviously, aligned with Omar Barada. They've worked together before, so I think they're on a similar kind of page. As I've said before on the podcast, though, Wilcox did express some reservations, shall we say, about the system initially when they were looking at replacing Eric Ten Hag around the FA Cup final, but it feels like to me, he's got a pretty strong relationship with Ruben Amorim. He's at the training pitches, he speaks to him regularly.
I'm sure I saw that video of him laughing and joking on the Stockport train
What do you reckon
platform.
they were talking about there?
I don't know. It had did you see that one?
Yeah.
Amorim was maybe laughing a bit more than it was funny, in a kind of, if I laugh,
your boss has made a joke.
Right?
Your boss has made a joke kind of thing.
But then also, if you
I laugh
back
when Joe makes jokes.
Yeah, so do I.
I am your
Please
boss,
keep me
of course.
on the channel.
But I don't know if you noticed, Wilcox had a bit of a I've said something really funny kind of swagger to him after he'd said it. He was doing that sort of look down and like walking around on his tiptoes kind of thing, like I fucking smashed it there. So I think it was genuinely funny. Yeah. But obviously, first of all, I don't think I've ever seen, and not because it's never happened, but I don't think I've ever seen a video like that of a Man United manager laughing and joking sort of privately with their superior. I don't think I've ever seen United manager have that sort of relationship. Not that I haven't seen every interaction, but that felt like they get on. Whether it's a personal thing or a professional thing, those aren't two people it's growing frosty between them. That was a week before, was it the Brentford? It was on the way down to Brentford, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously a poor game after that. But those aren't, I'd be very shocked to start seeing articles saying the relationship between Amorim and Wilcox has grown, tense over recent weeks. That doesn't seem to be the case, and obviously that can only help Amorim in terms of, keeping his job. Just in terms of that, part of me, I've been sort of my little theory on this, and it's not unique to me, but I almost think who he is as a person, and the fact that he does laugh and joke like that with people like Wilcox, and the fact that you do watch the press conferences and these little interviews with Owen Hargreaves and all that, and come out of them thinking, I agree with him, I like him, I want to smile along and be friends with him. I think that is a huge part of why he's still here. Obviously the results aren't keeping him here, because so far they've been woeful, but I think not only is that what's keeping him here, but I think INEOS will be really keen that he is the right person to be in the dressing room, not just from a technical perspective, but from an atmosphere and sort of culture perspective. Do you think that is a big reason why he's still here? Because obviously he's had worse results than David Moyes had. If you actually look at it, he's been here 12 months.
Yeah, if you look at the numbers, it's astonishing really that it's gone on this long. I get all the mitigation of changing systems and coming in midway through a season when it was already kind of unravelling. So fine, but yeah, if you look at the wins and losses, and it's kind of incredible. But yeah, I do think that his personality is a big factor as why he was hired in the first place. That charisma, that ability to shoulder the burden of being Manchester United manager. It's not a burden, sorry, but the pressure, the scrutiny that you get, it's a lot, and he seems to be able to weather it, pretty well. Even in those moments where it's kind of crazy what he's saying, speaking loud at Grimsby, or even saying that the players are kind of influenced by the media in terms of the system at the last pre-match press conference. It's pretty open and candid stuff. I think that does, though, help him internally. Certainly with someone like Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who I think has a pretty direct way of having dialogue, and I think Amorim, responds. I think they've admitted to that, haven't they? Or not admitted, but I think they've opened up on that, Ratcliffe and Amorim, in terms of their relationship. So I think that does help him, because ultimately it will be Ratcliffe's decision, I would say. Albeit, the Glazers are majority owners still, so they've given over, football control, club control really, to Ratcliffe. They are still in the picture and will have opinions, but the ability to actually make the change, if that comes to it, or appoint a new manager, would be, I would imagine, with the Jim Ratcliffe regime. So, but yeah, I think Amorim's sort of personality has been a large part as to why it's gone on, and also I think they would feel that they were the ones that sort of drew him away from Sporting, right, when he was on the road to winning back-to-back titles and he wanted to stay. So I think they probably think we kind of pressured you into coming at this point. We should actually now stick with you through the hard times, and hopefully it does turn. I think we'd all be, whatever side you're on right now, if United pick up and actually get results and go on to have a successful season, everyone would be happy. So with Ruben Amorim, basically. So I think that's their goal in mind that they've got at the moment.
Yeah, it's just the thing with Amorim as well is, like, I get the record thing is abysmal, like, overall, and someone who's stuck up for Amorim and continues to stick up for him quite a lot. But I also think that there's not been a point where you go, well, that's it, where he should have definitely been sacked. Yeah. Like, the Grimsby game maybe is the closest, I feel, as a fan, that it could have been that this is just not working. But even that, it's the beginning of a season. Yeah. And it's like, at what point this season, you wouldn't have sacked him after Arsenal when we played well, one game in. The end of last season, like you said, he came in during a season where he didn't want it. He wanted a pre-season. The end of last season, you could have said, okay, we finished 15th, lost the cup final. But then you go, but he needs a pre-season. He needs an actual window. He's only had a January window that got him Patrick Dorgu and Aidan Heaven, who were good players, but it's not like an overhaul that he requires. So I just don't think there's been a point where you go, okay, that's it now. That is where...
Because you had that with Ollie, didn't you, where they lost to Watford 4-1.
Yeah, and it was on a bad run comparatively then.
I know, imagine.
Yeah.
Was he sixth or whatever?
Yeah, but we'd obviously, for me, there was a series of, like, the Liverpool game and the City game and on the back of it. So yeah, I just feel like with Amorim, we're not at a point yet where you can go, right, that's it now. Remains to be seen whether just sorry to change that slightly. Do you think there's much in this sort of whole year thing with the compensation and stuff, or is that just people putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 7?
Yeah, I don't think that's
a consideration.
A thing, yeah.
Right, okay, that's fair enough.
Just for clarity on that, that's this idea that after he's been here for 12 months, the amount of compensation we would have to pay if we sacked him goes down by about 2/3. That's this suggestion.
Yeah, so there's like all eyes on the Forest game, I think it is. It's like,
I wouldn't get too focused on that.
Right,
Good.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Just on to the players then, because obviously one thing that can kill a manager, whether fans like him or not, is the players sort of turning on him or losing the dressing room, whatever that means, but that's the phrase that gets used. Mason Mount has spoken about being sort of 100% behind him. I think any opportunity players have been kind of prompted to talk about the manager. They've seemed to me genuine in their kind of backing of him. Not that you ever see players going, oh, shit.
Actually, you're right, yeah.
But
we're just counting down the days.
Yeah, exactly. But there does, you will occasionally see players from people going, we've all had disagreements, but we want to work together. It doesn't even seem to be that, like, hinting at problems. I think the players certainly seemed in pre-season to be really on this. Then there's been a little bit of buckling at the knees a little bit, but I still feel as though the players are there for him. Do you get that sense as well?
Yeah, I think there's obviously going to be players that have issues or maybe have thoughts that the system isn't really working for them. I mean, look at Kobbie Mainoo, right? He isn't being picked to start games. He has to leave on loan. So, but I think Mason Mount was pretty strong in his sort of backing for him, and you can see the relationship they've got. It feels like a good one where Mason Mount's getting in positions to do what he can do well. And yeah, it'd be interesting, right, if he starts him over Cunha for the Liverpool game as well, which you'd imagine Mason Mount.
Can't see Mason Mount getting dropped now.
Yeah,
no. He was very good against Sunderland.
What was really fascinating was, so that Mason Mount said that to the BBC after the game. Then up in the press conference afterwards, it was put to Amorim that the players are 100% behind you, and Amorim doesn't just take it. He kind of went, well, yeah, I saw that today, and I see that in training, but basically, when we've looked at games previously, supporting a manager, being with a manager, is that you kill yourself in every transition, is what he said. Which to me is like, okay, we're with you on the touchline. I'm going to run up and down every single time that demands it. Going to give my absolute all. He said that sometimes we've watched games and it's not been the case, which is kind of like interesting. Which tapped into the Grimsby game. You know, the players spoke loud. So even Amorim himself is sort of hinting that there's some kind of issue there. And listen, you're right. Like, I don't think it's ever. They're not a homogenous mass, are they, players? Like, every single one of them have got different opinions, different priorities, different motivations. And so I don't think it's ever really fully fair to say, you know, a manager's lost the dressing room. But I do think that you'll have people in there that are, you know, wondering, I suppose, exactly what is going to come of this. But at the same time, I think that, as we saw against Sunderland, even the Burnley game, as a reaction to the Grimsby game, you saw players trying, you saw them wanting to do the work and working in that system as well in the way that you want. So yeah, I think that isn't a broken situation.
No. I mean, you look at even, you know, Wayne Rooney and Sir Alex Ferguson's relationship.
Yeah. There
were times when Rooney's openly admitted they hated each other, but he'd still go out and play, you know, week in, week out, and that was the best player for the most successful team in Premier League history. There's going to be a few people in this dressing room who aren't at 100% sort of confidence and happiness, but like, that's not a lost the dressing room situation, hopefully at least.
And weirdly, I mean, as I say weirdly, you know, not weirdly actually, but managers, coaches sometimes provoke players deliberately to make them angry, to get them doing what they want. I remember, I mean, when Leicester won the league, for example, you know, Claudio Ranieri was absolutely brilliant with us, you know, dilly ding, dilly dong and all that, and taking the pressure off. But with the players, sometimes they didn't like some of the stuff they were being asked to do, like in training. And a lot of that was actually then they maybe managed themselves to a degree to get over the line there. But in a way, Ranieri's management there was absolutely spectacular because it enabled them in that way, or he you know, kind of challenged them in that way. So it's a very nuanced conversation, I think, to have when you talk about what a coach wants from players and vice versa.
What's the atmosphere like at the minute, Laurie, with like Ruben Amorim and the press conferences? Because you've been on all of them. You even did the one in the fact. Where was it? Was it Malaysia?
Well, Hong Kong. There's Hong Kong. Yeah, well, both Hong Kong and Malaysia. Yeah, there was Malaysia where he was up on stage. And he sort of for the first time. Yeah. So I did the last one in Hong Kong as well, where he said, "See you in 4 months." Yeah, can't wait to see the back of you, basically.
So you've covered it from like every game and from day one since he arrived. What's the atmosphere like, if that makes sense? Like, because you can sort of tell, can't you, what our manager's getting on.
He's still pretty good, you know. I was obviously at the one before the Sunderland game, and very, very, tame, I would say. About the first embargo bit, and then got into the kind of the 10:30 stuff, and just really strong defence of himself in terms of the system. And that's what you want, right? You want a guy that's still got the fight for it, still got the passion for it. But I feel like he is somebody that you could ask anything of. Sort of even we were asking basically, do you think the players are? He touched on it, and then we said, do you think our players are affected? And he said, well, you can't. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at here. So you can touch on those issues, which are pretty delicate in terms of his stature and commanding respect, and he feels like he'll be pretty open about it. I mean, even the question that I asked at the end, I'd had a few different ones whirling around in my mind when I knew I was getting one, and the question that I asked was taken, so I sort of threw out the Saudi Arabia one, the friendlies in mid-season that I'd written about, and thankfully he didn't say that's absolutely rubbish, you're talking out your arse. He said, we will do it. Like, okay, right, that's pretty stronger than anything I've heard before. Like at that point, it had been like conversations, or they'd look to do it, and he's like, yeah, we will do it.
That's handy, isn't it? That someone asked your question, because then you got a better one.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice one.
It's mad, isn't it, the sort of openness that he has, and I do think again that is almost crucial when things are this bad, because any layer of cover up, or you've got it wrong, it's not that bad, would look sort of
it looked
brainless
false.
almost.
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
it?
Delusional.
It would be delusional. That's the word I'm looking for. So I think his natural openness kind of coincides nicely with the fact that if you were anything other than open right now, you might be gone because it would just be mad.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Senne Lammens a little bit, because he's someone that obviously had his debut. We've been waiting a little while for it. It's felt as though we could have thrown him in for Brentford or for this, that and the other game, but we've had some difficult games. This was the first one of Sunderland have started well, but a promoted team at home, now's the time to throw him in. Was it a direct response to the Brentford game and the sort of not great performance from Bayern, or do you think it was always that Sunderland game we're going to see Lammens?
Yeah, I don't know actually. I think it does make sense, doesn't it, to give him a game before Liverpool, right? I mean, to actually give him his debut at Anfield would have been quite something. I know we've all got memories of Massimo Taibbi.
Man of the match. Yeah.
I need to watch that back, because I swear I remember him kind of like fumbling across.
I think it was, yeah.
But then he managed to produce a few saves and it was kind of like, oh, let's give him man of the match. Because it wasn't a clean sheet, was it?
No.
But then I suppose the alternative would have been, okay, let's keep Bayern in. So I do think maybe the Brentford game had an impact. And yeah, I thought that he was only really at fault for the third goal, but Ian Irving, obviously our host on Talk of the Devil, said, no, you're wrong. He's actually probably at fault for all three because he should have come out for the first and could have been stronger in the second. So, okay, maybe that's the way that ultimately the coach
first one seemed harsh.
Well, he said he could have come.
He didn't
out.
Put any pressure on the shot taker at all today.
Which fair enough.
Yeah, but then
I don't know.
different style. But again, when you're under pressure, everything's your fault.
That's true. That's a good point.
And so but I think it's been some time coming, hasn't it? Like if you sign a new goalkeeper, you get rid of the goalkeeper that had been your number one. That new one surely should be featuring as your number one, and I think they've had that in mind. But I guess fair enough. You need to acclimatise. You need to kind of get your head in the game for it. Have those relationships with the defenders in front of you. But no, he came across really well, didn't he? I mean, I know they had that bit with Traore and Fernandes when he ran out, and it was a bit awkward. Maybe lucky to not concede a foul there. Although I think it was probably Fernandes that actually fouled him.
And also, I think Bruno got that wrong by letting it bounce the way he did.
Yeah.
I think obviously the goalie comes out and goes for it, doesn't get it, isn't great. But I think it was a situation made worse by Bruno being a little bit indecisive on letting the ball come over his shoulder, which he's not a centre-back. He doesn't have those kind of rules in his head that a De Ligt might have. But it was, other than that, it looked very I think the claiming the ball was the big one, wasn't it?
Catching the ball.
That's the one.
No, I wasn't there for this one. Yeah, I had to go to somewhere. But yeah, the whole sort of, when you say it out loud, it sounds insane, and it catching the ball, and then the shouting at your defenders or whatever. The Schmeichel chance that have sent everyone into a meltdown on some of the media and that. But
it just came across. It just looked right, didn't it? It kind of looked, and again, it's one game. It's Sunderland. It's not been massively tested. Let's see when you kind of really under the cosh, and it's a horrendous atmosphere. That's perhaps what we're expecting at Anfield. But just the way he sort of held himself, the kick-in was obviously a big aspect to it. Second half, where it was just kicking it long, passing it long, should we say? Because I think quite a few of them
highlighted a stat. Was it like 33 times he kicks it long?
Yeah. Which is, so that's like a pass more than 40 metres, I think was the definition. And that's the previous game against Brentford, it was 8. So it's quite a significant jump. It's the most this season by more than double, and it's most even if you can last season. I think there's a Newcastle game where it was 24. So that was clearly a strategy to make sure United got over the line. But I think also it was quite impressive to see him left and right foot pretty good, pretty accurate, good distance on it.
Yeah.
And Sesko obviously allowed that to happen by being a pretty good presence up front as well. And obviously the save at the end, that kind of one-on-one, right, what have you got? And okay, maybe it wasn't the best finish, but equally I think he did have to do quite well to save it. So yeah, came out of it really positively.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, it's good for him to have that, because you talk about Bayern Day. I don't even think Bayern Day had a game where there was no drama.
Yeah.
I think there was just like drama in every single game he had. And I'm not trying to hate on the guy, but let's be honest, it was like there was always something, wasn't there? And I think just to have that game where it's a clean sheet,
big.
And it's like you've won, happy days, like just get that under your belt and then hopefully move forward, because like you say, the sort of arguably the toughest test of the season is Liverpool away, and that's going to be the next game, and he's obviously going to play in that one. So yeah, it's just nice to have a little something, just calm a little bit of nerves, and hopefully give him a bit of confidence and a bit, get him relaxed.
Yeah. I think he sort of passes the eye test, as
that's what I mean. Yeah, it felt good.
He looks like a good keeper. Whether
Yeah.
he is or not, we literally don't know yet. But you look at him and the way he handles himself and his
Sturdy.
frame and his even just, I don't know, just like his little floppy haircut. You think he's someone that's just, he doesn't look over emotional or rash. And I think we've had too many keepers. I mean, I'll put De Gea in this as well at times, who look flappable. He's got a kind of coldness to him where you think, I mean, he might make a mistake, but who knows? You know, I don't see him sort of crumbling after that. It's one game in, we don't know, but it's a good start. Finally, I'm just going to ask you. You said it before the Brentford game. If we lose to Liverpool, is Amorim getting sacked?
Oh right.
Or do you think he's going to be here for the next chunk of games at least?
I've not made these, subsequent calls now, so
Okay,
you are
fair
putting me on
enough.
the spot. But
Fair
I mean, based on the conversations I was having previously, I can't
Yeah.
see how a defeat at Liverpool would then make him get sacked. Okay, maybe there's ways that happens.
Yeah.
Although having said that, Eric Ten Hag lost 7-0 at Anfield and there was no question really about his position after that, was there?
No.
So, okay, he had more credit in the bank at that point. But yeah, I don't think so in terms of a defeat being terminal. Should we put it in that parlance again?
There you go.
Obviously, if that then is followed up by another defeat and another defeat, then that changes the picture, doesn't it, massively?
It must be a tough one in Liverpool away because it's not just a him thing. It's like we've been so bad there for 10 years. I think we've only scored like 3 goals in 10 years or something absurd there.
Well, 2 of them last season.
Yeah,
It was like
it's
2,
a joke. That
and
record
then
is a
obviously
joke.
back to 2015 is the
Yeah.
last time we won there under Van Gaal,
Yeah.
wasn't it? The Wanfield. It's so long that, obviously a win would be amazing, but we've had
Imagine if
managers
they did
going
win.
through really good spells and still not got a win there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, imagine if they
We
did.
we can win there.
Go on, Jack.
Honestly.
Go on, Jack.
No, like I
But
know.
they can't.
like this.
Liverpool are gettable, aren't they?
Yeah, they've lost 3 on the spin. They've
Are they going to make it 4?
I wonder if
why
that's actually a
not?
bad time to play them though, because they're now we're dialed in,
Yeah,
we're switched onto this.
You're right. There's never, you could argue the sort of the reverse. Well, they'll be looking to get a reaction and all the rest of it. But I know we haven't been great this season, but we've still got good players. And Liverpool aren't in fact like unbeatable.
Yeah.
Like it is doable. Manchester United Football Club can go to Anfield. We got a result there last season, and we finished 15th, and they won the league.
We should have won it.
Yeah,
Maguire in the end.
really well.
If it wasn't like
We actually-
Xerxes hitting it into the ground to pass it to Maguire, we'd have won that. And it's like that was literally historically the worst Manchester United team ever facing the best Premier League team Liverpool have had, or the second best Premier League team Liverpool have ever had.
Yeah.
And we were unlucky just to draw. So I'm drinking the
doable.
Kool-Aid. I think we're going to do him, Laurie. We'll do him, yeah. We'll do it. Amorim keeps his job. It's all going to be
Top of the
sunshine
league.
and rainbows, yeah.
Get in that dressing room before the game.
This is when it starts. The
Enjoy.
comeback starts now at Anfield. Yeah.
Right, Laurie, thank you as always for
Cheers.
coming on. Sorry for putting you on the spot at the end there, but I think you handled it well.
Well, let's see what the aggregators make of that.
We'll see what that gets condensed down to when you get in.
I think I said enough words that they might get confused by what I was saying.
exactly. Yeah, you're over the tweet limit.
Yeah.
Send Mitten on him. Mitten's
No,
always on the aggregators. He hates the aggregators.
Yeah,
Andy.
he
He doesn't take any grief off him. Fair play.
Open replies, he does.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, thank you again as always. Again, make sure you look in the comments for links to Talk of the Devils podcast with Laurie and Andy Mitten and others, of course. And also, Laurie's articles will be down there as well if you want to read the full version of any of the things we've spoken about today. Thank you, Jay, as always.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Laurie. Great to have you back on the channel. Thank you for joining us at home. This has been Inside United with Laurie Whitwell. We'll see you in a bit.